He'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's up, Mavs fans? Welcome into today's episode of All Things Mavs, where I'm breaking down the Chicago Bulls versus Dallas Mavericks game, giving you a full preview on the game that's taking place on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So for all my Dallas watchers, it's a little bit earlier than you're used to. I know you're probably going to be wanting to watch an NFL football, but not today. We're watching the Mavs versus Bulls go down. Now, if you're a loyal subscriber, you probably already realize this is not my normal setup for the second video in a row. But if you're new to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button and give this video a like. And we'll be back in my normal setup here sooner rather than later. Now, Dallas has already faced the Chicago Bulls once this year, and they lost the game on January 3rd by 10 points. But remember, there was no Luka Doncic in that game. And speaking of Luka Doncic, before I go any further, Luka got a triple-double against the Milwaukee Bucks. After the game ended, we thought it was just one rebound shy of a triple-double, but turns out they gave him a rebound that actually was given to Willie Cauley-Stein initially, and then they gave it to Luka later on after the game had finished up. So there you go, another triple-double for our Wonder Boy. But remember, no Luka and no KP in that first Bulls game in which the Mavs lost by 10. So this is going to be a very different-looking team. But also, Dallas isn't going to have Dorian Finney-Smith. They're not going to have Josh Richardson. They're not going to have Maxi Kleber. And they're not going to have Dwight Powell. But speaking of those guys, they might get one of their guys back from COVID protocol. Jalen Brunson has popped up on the injury report as questionable, upgraded from out to questionable, which means he is nearing the end of his quarantine. Probably means he was the one guy that tested negative and was only out due to contact tracing, and now there's a chance he returns. Remember, Brunson was spectacular in that last game against the Chicago Bulls. He's from Chicago, so it was basically a homecoming of sorts for him on January 3rd. He scored 31 points, had 7 assists, and pulled down 5 rebounds in that game. And if the Mavs could even just get one player back to put back into the rotation, I would be excited. As up and down as Brunson has been, getting him back for this Chicago team that he clearly knows how to play well against would be a huge deal. Now, sticking with the injury report here, I mentioned all those guys that were already out, but there's another guy that popped up as questionable for this game in Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not questionable due to COVID protocols. He's questionable for a groin strain that must have popped up during the game against the Bucks. I'm going to say that I think he will end up playing in this one against Chicago, but no certainty when you're questionable. It really just leaves a lot hanging in the air. So watch out for that. And if he doesn't get the start, watch out for either Trey Burke or, who knows, maybe Josh Green and Wes Iwundu start together alongside Luka. But I would expect Trey Burke to start in his place if Tim Hardaway is out. But as of right now, I'm going to assume that he'll be okay and he'll end up playing. Now, I don't expect really any other changes in the starting five as long as Tim Hardaway Jr. plays. I still think it's going to be Luka, Tim, Iwundu, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Kristaps Porzingis. However, I'm still in on giving Josh Green the start over Wesley Iwundu. He had some great minutes against the Bucks. There were some moments where he definitely looked like a rookie and he had his rookie goggles on and he made some dumb plays and some dumb fouls and took some bad shots. But his energy and his defense, I think, is better and has a higher ceiling than what Wesley Iwundu is going to give you. Now, remember this. Dallas, after losing to Chicago the first time around, in which they started Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dwight Powell started in that game, and then they also had Dorian Finney-Smith and Josh Richardson. That was your starting five against Chicago initially. After losing that game is when Willie Cauley-Stein came into the starting five, and Dallas ended up winning 4 straight. So this could be a team, this is a completely different looking Mavs team than the last time they played Chicago. And when you look at Chicago, on the other hand, who won that game, that was one of the last games they've won. In the last 5 games since playing against Dallas, they're 1-4. And they're losers of the last 4 straight games. Their last win was against the Portland Trail Blazers 2 days after they defeated the Dallas Mavericks in a complete fluky win, I think, for Chicago. It was a close game. But since then, they've lost to the Kings, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder in overtime. Now look, 2 of those 4 are very high-quality opponents in the Clippers and the Lakers, but losing to the Thunder in OT when you had a double-digit lead, and also losing to the Sacramento Kings, it's always going to be embarrassing. So you got one team in Dallas who, yeah, they just lost to the Bucks, but they are still coming in hot, and I think that's going to bode well for the Mavs. Now, before I get into the Chicago Bulls injury report, because they're going to be without a couple key guys as well, let me know how you like the shirt. If you like the merchandise you see right here, you can let me know in the comment section, and I might actually put these for sale. I'm still working on getting monetized here on YouTube. I've met the threshold, but now it's just getting accepted, and it's a whole long process. So you guys could potentially help support me by maybe buying some shirts if I decide to put these on sale, if I see enough of you guys say you want some. But if you don't want to buy anything from me, that's fine. Just support me by subscribing and telling your friends and family. But now back onto the Chicago Bulls. Injury report here, and let me get it for you. Chicago's going to be without Devon Dotson, Chandler Hutchinson, Luke Cornett, and Tomas Satoransky. Now, Garrett Temple and Otto Porter Jr. are probable for this game. They will both probably play, obviously, on there. And look, Hutchinson, he wasn't available last time for the Bulls, and neither was Satoransky. Now, they also didn't have Lauri Markkanen, which was a huge loss last time the Bulls and the Mavs played, but it didn't matter. They still got the win. So it's going to be, whatever, as long as Porter and Garrett Temple play. If Porter Jr. is there, then these injuries really don't matter all that much for Chicago, but it's at least something interesting to watch. Now, the one guy on the Bulls that I'm the most concerned about because he tore the Mavericks up last time is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is averaging basically career highs across the board. He looks like an elite offensive option. The problem is, Chicago can't win games around him. They're under 500 now. They looked okay in the middle of the season, but the beginning and the last few have just been absolutely terrible. And I feel bad for Zach LaVine. But I'm scared against the Mavs because last time the Mavs played him, they still had Josh Richardson. They still had Dorian Finney-Smith. And he still went off for, I believe, 39 points against the Mavs. Could be off. You can fact check me in the comments. But now they don't have either of their elite wing defenders. So you're probably going to see a mix of Wesley Iwundu, Josh Green, and maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. on Zach LaVine in this game, and that's worrisome for me. That's a guy that can absolutely torch this Dallas team. And I know a lot of you are probably going to ask, well, Jimmy, what do you think about a Zach LaVine trade for the Mavs? I know some people in Mavs world think that he's not capable of becoming a third option, which is what he would be in Dallas. But look, if all you have to give up is a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. and a couple of draft picks down the road, along with, Dwight Powell, yeah, sign me up. The problem is, I don't think Dallas has the pieces to make a Zach LaVine trade actually happen. I'd love him on this team. I think he'd be a great piece on this team. Surround Levine, Porzingis, and Luka with defenders, and that's a championship team, no doubt about it. I just don't think the Bulls are going to look to trade him, and I don't think the Mavs have the trade chips to actually make it happen. So enough about that. Maybe I'll do a whole video on it later, but as of right now, he's on the Bulls, and the Mavs are facing the Bulls, so I want Dallas to figure out a way to defend him. The other guy that I actually really like on Chicago is Coby White, the young guard out of North Carolina. He's super fast. He torched the Mavs a couple times in that game against the Bulls on January 3rd. However, they also didn't have Luka. I don't know if Luka is going to be the guy that keeps up with him defensively, but I think Coby White and Zach LaVine are the two guys that I would watch out for the most during this game to really torch Dallas. Now, another big thing for the Mavs here is the fact that Porzingis is back in the lineup. And I know some of you guys were frustrated with him in Milwaukee, but the guy's a stud. And if Lauri Markkanen is going to be guarding him most of the game, or frankly, either of their front court players in Markkanen or Wendell Carter Jr., he's going to light it up. This is going to be another great game for the Mavs to really showcase Porzingis in his time back. He's still probable on the injury report. He will play. I'm not even going to think that he might not. He will be available for the game. And remember, the last time the Mavs played a team that they lost to earlier was that game against the Hornets that Porzingis came back for. And that was one of Dallas's best games of the season. Now you're going up against another team in Chicago that you are becoming familiar with, and you have your two star players available. I think this is a great chance for Dallas to showcase what they can do against a team that hasn't been very good in their past 5 games. So if you're asking me, I'm predicting a win for the Dallas Mavericks. And then they're going to turn around on Monday and play the Toronto Raptors, who have been pretty darn bad this season. So these are 2 games that Dallas has an awesome opportunity to get 3 games above 500 and build back another win streak. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and click that thumbs up video to give me a like. I promise we'll be back in the normal setup soon, but I know you don't care. I know you just want to hear me talk Mavs, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm predicting a dub, but I'll be here for the post-game recap, win or lose. Thank you guys for tuning in again, and as always, go Mavs, baby.